It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the movies of February 26, 1993. Only 3 movies to look at today, so let's not waste any more time. Let's jump on into it, and we'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, Michael Douglas and Joel Schumacher's Falling Down.
Bill Foster is an ordinary man.
Where you going?
Going home.
Not this way, you're not.
Why not?
Metro rail construction, that's why not.
Living in the everyday world.
I don't suppose you have a couple of bucks you can give me. It would really help me out. If you give me your address, I'll mail it back, honest.
A patient man.
Can I help you?
Yes, I'd like a ham and cheese omelet, wham fries.
I'm sorry.
We stop serving breakfast at 11:30.
Who's running out of patience.
I get some change for the phone.
A peaceful man.
No change. Have to buy something.
Who's about to be pushed.
85 cents. 85 cents.
Doesn't give me enough money for the phone call.
Drink. 85 cents. You pay or go.
A little too far.
I stay.
You mean you stole your baseball bat, but he paid for the soda?
Just standing up for my rights. As a consumer.
Oh, this guy's discriminating.
What kind of vigilante are you? I'm just trying to get home to my little girl's birthday.
Give us your briefcase.
If everybody will stay out of my way.
Here. You want a briefcase? Here's my briefcase. Oh, where's the briefcase, huh? Wait a minute.
Then nobody will get hurt.
Warner Brothers presents
Say, would you get off my golf course? I am.
the story of an everyday guy who refused
Fine. Hey, whoa.
to take it one more day.
Sir, we got a nutcase with a bag full of guns. He's in Hollywood right now, and he's heading west.
I don't know if you've noticed or not, but there's other people waiting to use the phone here.
Now, if you go up against this guy, be careful.
I think it's out of order.
Somebody in a white shirt and tie gunned down a phone with 3 blocks from the Whammy Burger.
Michael Douglas.
In America, we have the freedom of speech. Come on, I want to be a part of it. I buy a ticket. The right to disagree.
Robert Duvall.
I know who this guy is.
In a Joel Schumacher film.
What are you doing to the street?
We're fixing it. What the hell does it look like?
See, I don't think anything's wrong with the street. I think you're just trying to justify your inflated budgets.
Well, I guess so.
I'll give you something to fix.
What are you... Hey, Charlie!
Falling down.
Let's call it a day.
Come on. I'm the bad guy?
A tale of urban reality.
Good luck trying to remake this movie in 2022. Yeah, 30 years after this movie came out, this movie becomes a little more to talk about because of everything that has happened in the world since then. But, I mean, at least in my opinion, I really like this movie. But I like it as kind of a it's weird. It's going to sound crazy. It's terrible for me to say this, but I like this as kind of a fantasy. Like, the basic premise of this movie is Michael Douglas is this guy who's just having a terrible, terrible day, and then just all these things keep happening to him, and he just gets pushed to an extreme level, and he just goes off on this incredibly violent rampage, and it's you would never do this in real life, but I don't know, like, we've all been in this kind of situation before, but we've never been in this situation that goes to this extreme of a level. And this movie, I think this movie really is one of those movies where you look at it and you got to think to yourself, like, this cannot happen in real life. In movie world, you could buy into this. This is kind of like a modern day version of Death Wish, kind of, except instead of Charles Bronson actually doing his job to save the day, this guy's doing it just because that he's just so fed up with the world. And like I said before, a lot of people I think can relate to William Foster in this movie. He's just has all these things that are just get on his nerves, just pushes him to these other levels that he could snap at any moment, and he snaps in this movie. And it's just like it's hard to talk about this movie because of how the world has become in the 30 years since then, but I still really like this movie a lot. I like it because Michael Douglas just sells this role, and honestly, I think a normal person can relate to this situation, but a person with a smart brain and the fact that they don't have any violent tendencies knows that to never ever do this in real life, because you will probably get killed right away and not even get shot or even get sent to jail. Because, I mean, you see me stumbling here because it's really hard to talk about this movie nowadays, especially since the way the world has gone since this movie in the 30 years since this movie came out. And like I said before, it would be hard to remake this movie in modern times. Like, I really don't think you could even remake this movie in modern times. But as you take it as a movie as it is, it's a very good movie. Like, Michael Douglas really sells this performance, and like I said, you feel for this character. Like, it's like, this is just, it's like I said before, it's kind of a fantasy type of situation where, like, you would want to do this, but at the same time, you have to have common sense to not do this in real life because, obviously, of the circumstances that are involved. And you got a great performance by Robert Duvall in here as the cop that's on a day of his retirement, who's basically coming back in to stop this guy from going crazy. And it's kind of a fun black comedy too. Like, there are like those scenes in the trailer you see, they do lead to a lot of really funny over the top gonzo moments, and it's hard for me to really delve into this movie, considering the plot itself and how it still kind of remains a timeless movie considering everything that's happened in the decades since then. But I mean, like I said before, you take this movie as a fantasy, take it as a piece of fiction, and it's a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun in a black comedy thriller type of way. But yeah, bottom line, don't ever do this in real life. But if you want to see one of Michael Douglas's best performances ever, this is definitely the movie I'd recommend, because Falling Down's a pretty damn good movie, and hey, one of Joel Schumacher's best movies too. So I could go into more, but I'll just leave it there, and I'll let you guys delve into what you thought about this movie, because I mean, I think I've pretty much said everything I need to say right now about it. But anyway, that's Falling Down. And with that said, let's go ahead and get off that movie and go to the next movie that we have here, and that is Robert Rodriguez's directorial debut, El Mariachi.
In 1991, Columbia Pictures introduced you to an extraordinary new filmmaker and an unforgettable new vision. The director was 23-year-old John Singleton. The film, Boys in the Hood. Now, Columbia Pictures is proud to present a remarkable new film from another extraordinary new talent. The director is 23-year-old Robert Rodriguez. The film, El Mariachi.
So this was the movie that introduced the world to Robert Rodriguez, as you hear in the trailer. Columbia Pictures put this out 2 years ago. They put out the first movie by John Singleton, Boys in the Hood, and that became a classic movie. And this movie became a classic movie as well, and went on to have a loyal cult following to the point where Sony actually made this into a franchise with Desperado coming out a couple years later, and then 8 years after that we got Once Upon a Time in Mexico. And while this movie definitely is the weakest of the three movies, I think, it's still a very, very good movie. Like the fact that Rodriguez put only about $7,000 into this movie, and it turned out into this beautiful looking film, a visually stunning looking film, and a film that really works because you get invested with these characters. This is a story that's been done over and over again. It's nothing new, it's nothing exciting, but just the way it's shot, the way the action sequences pan out, the way the visuals play out, the way the acting works, you can't help but really be impressed by what they did, by what Robert Rodriguez has done here. It's a incredibly made film, a fantastic film overall. It's a film that I can't recommend enough. Go see El Mariachi, especially if you're a big fan of Robert Rodriguez's work. See the film that made him into a superstar. With that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and the last movie, I should say, and that is the documentary Visions of Light.
His face, with this phenomenon happening on the windows, happened to hit his face one time when I was looking. So I went to Richard, and I said, Richard, watch this on his face now, you know what I mean? And we did another rehearsal, and you can see the water running down, and it drips around, and he's talking about his father, and it's very sad he's going to be hanged, but he's playing it very straight, unemotional, and the visuals were crying for him.
Okay, so I couldn't find a trailer. I had to take a little clip from the Siskel and Ebert review for this. Basically, this is a documentary talking about the art of cinematography, talking about the concept of cinema at the turn of the 20th century, and you have these different filmmakers and cinematographers talking about their views and discussing why the art of cinematography is important within the craft of filmsmanship. And you see some notable names in here, including Michael Chapman, Ernest Dickerson, Conrad Hall, Caleb Deschanel. Looking at the list here, John A. Alonzo, Victor J. Kempa, Vittorio Sotaro, Gordon Willis, just a lot of names here, and these filmmakers talk about these films. They go all the way back to films of the late 1800s, stuff like the 1925 Ben-Hur, The Wizard of Oz, Gone with the Wind, The Magnificent Amberson, Citizen Kane, a lot of Alfred Hitchcock movies, all the way up to films like Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas and Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. It just looks like a movie that really honestly could be remade today with some of the cinematographers that we've had since then. I would like to hear some stuff from people like Roger Deakins, even some guys that have become filmmakers of their own. Barry Sonnenfeld, John DeBont, Andrei Bartkowiak. There's some other names I'm trying to think of. Give me 1 second here. Of course, Janusz Kaminski, Larry Fong, Emmanuel Lubezki, Matthew Libatique, Wally Pfister. There's so many names that you could put into this list that probably would make for a really solid remake of this series if they get more people to do this. But it looks like it could be a pretty good documentary to see. I like this idea of hearing these filmmakers talking about their craft and how they're able to establish these shots and all that. I think it could be something that could be very much worth watching one day, and I might do that just once. And like I said before, this could be something that they could eventually do a remake of, or at least a continuation of, to hear these modern day cinematographers and filmmakers talk about their craft and all that. And it could be a ton of fun. So that's pretty much all I got to say about Visions of Light. So with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We'll jump into a new month on the next episode, looking at March 5th, with 7 movies, including Robert De Niro, Uma Thurman, and Bill Murray in Mad Dog and Glory. Also Nicolas Cage and Samuel L. Jackson in Amos and Andrew. We also have Best of the Best 2, Swing Kids, Shadow of the Wolf, Rich in Love, and The Stolen Children. So 7 movies to look at next time around, and we'll delve into those in the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you for watching, I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.